One of the great things that we have doing our job is that we can go to places that people have restricted access to. When I had the chance to shoot at the Louvre and you are able to walk the Louvre with no one, being able to see the Mona Lisa on your own. And it's the same when I've shot at Versailles, for instance, being in the Galerie des Glaces at 6 p.m. when there's a sunset. Those moments are unique.
We are the most visited country in the world. Welcome to A la Française, the podcast that shines a light on the French art of living and those who shape it. Raphaël Benoliel, you're the bridge between Hollywood and Paris, the producer of Emily in Paris, Mission Impossible. Your movies have won Oscars, and you have been working with the greatest in the industry, from Steven Spielberg to Tom Cruise. So, Raphaël, it's an honor to have you on this show and to have your views on the French culture and the French way of living.
Thank you.
Let's start with your personal background and tell us a little bit about yourself. You were born in Nice, in the southwest of France. Can you tell us about your family history and what's your current connection with south of France and your souvenirs about your childhood?
Okay. Well, Nice is in the southeast, not west.
Wow.
But it's fine. It's okay.
It's a very bad beginning.
It's just like it's fine. I know that you're from Bordeaux, so that's why. It's okay. First of all, thank you for that. And then that introduction, that is really, I could be proud of it. But no, it's like I've worked on those films. I'm not the only producer. And
it's very short summer.
I've been a part of it, and I'm so proud of that. But cannot say that it's all thanks to me, but part of it. What was your questions? Like, what was how?
Tell us
my
about
life
your
in
childhood.
Nice, my childhood in Nice. Well, it was lovely. I grew up like I think blessed but normal child. Like family. Well, my parents got divorced at some point, unfortunately. But I have a brother that now lives in San Francisco. So there's another bridge with the U.S.
Nice actually is the second most touristic city in France.
I didn't know that. Okay.
What would you say about your city for Americans? What is the characteristic of Nice?
Well, what I love about Nice, and actually that was the thing that I even said again last week when I was there, is the color. For me, it's the light, it's the sea, the blue, and it really, when I'm there, this is what I love the most. Of course, it's my land. It reminds me of many things. My mom's there and my friends. But what I love the most, I have the chance to have a small apartment in Nice, and I have a beautiful window overlooking the sea. And when I watch that, for me, it's like a road call. It changed, like the colors changing. It's just beautiful.
So you received a call in the summer 25 years ago from Neil Jordan, the director of Interview with a Vampire. I bet you remember this call. And can you tell us your souvenirs about this call and how it changed your life?
Oh, well, it was not directly from Neil. And then I had the chance to work with him. The thing is, I was working a lot on commercials. I was working as a production manager at the time, and I wanted to change from commercials to feature films. And I was working as a freelance for a company all the time called Bay Vista. And usually during the summer, I was the only one in the office because the owner and technically also my mentor in that business was going in the Southwest for the vacation. And then, so I was there in the office, and I was really looking and waiting for a moment where I say, how can I make the switch to work on feature films? And thanks to a producer that we worked with in the past on another project, he called us saying that Neil Jordan had that project that he wanted to shoot either in the south of France or in the north. It was a remake of the Jean-Pierre Melville movie, Bob le Flambeur. And then, so of course, once I had that call, I really wanted to persuade them and then convince them that the south of France would be better than going to Deauville, which obviously is a great city, but really I wanted to bring it there because for me, it was the opportunity to switch to movies. And then, so I was dedicated trying to convince them, make a budget that they like, and then show them with the locations and everything else that we could have in the south that would be the good location for the film, and they decided so. So I was super happy, and that was really the moment where I switched from a life of being an intermittent du spectacle or working as a production manager to working on movies. And since that movie and what happened on the shoot and the adventure, I had the chance to then switch and work on movies.
For the filming of Love Actually,
Mm-hmm.
well, I guess a movie that changed your life.
Yeah.
Did a great move on your career. You chose Marseille in the southeast of France. Can you tell why you chose Marseille as a city for this film?
I did not choose Marseille. Like really, the director and the producers, Richard Curtis and Duncan, had Marseille in mind. And actually, what happened is I had an email from Richard. It was his first film as a director, and the 2 weeks that we shot in Marseille were basically the beginning of the movie and his first step as a director. And it was such an honor to be part of that and to witness his work. I learned a lot from that. And so they chose Marseille, and then they sent me the script. And actually, he sent me lovely notes asking, do you feel it's correct? Is there anything in the script that you would change as being part of local and knowing the city, things that I've described that would not be correct? And I thought it was like so humble from him. And like I didn't even wanted to make notes, because when you have like the master of romantic comedy that is writing you something and asking you if you had any notes on his script, you say, who I am to say something there. Like he really pushed me to say, but yes, anything. And so I made a few comments, like stupid maybe or not, and then he took them into account. And that was really, really a lovely experience. Since now, it's one of my best experiences that I had so far. And I admired his work before and after. And so working on that was a great experience, a lovely moment in my life.
And in which way did this film mark you so much? Because we can hear that
it's just that I had the chance. I love romantic comedies, and I wanted to work on one. Like it's like where you were mentioning that in the 2000s I wanted to make the switch to movies and not working on commercialism. Or not that I didn't like commercials, but really for me I wanted to work on something that has a different meaning. And then I had that film with Neil Jordan, and after that I really, if at the time you were asking me, what would you like to work on, and I said romantic comedies, because I really love still now, and I had the chance to have one of the best writer and director of romantic comedies contacting us. So it was great, and the experience with Richard was great. And he's a lovely guy, like so talented and so humble. And when you have the chance to work with so many talented people and watch them and with all their skills, and you can just learn and appreciate the moments. Like when I had the chance to work with Tom Cruise for completely different things, and many other directors and many other talents. This is so and Love Actually was really maybe the first thing that I was doing on my own as an entrepreneur, maybe as well, and not as a technician working for someone else. And I really liked it. And since now, it's a film that has a great success, and I still love it, and I still laugh and cry when I watch it. So that's why I like it.
So in a different style, you filmed Les Dégâts, which was a French film, still in Marseille.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm making the link. I mentioned a phrase that you quoted in an interview, saying that I discovered so many things on filming this movie. Do you remember in what sense?
Les Dégâts was my first film as what we call a producteur délégué, which is like the main producer, and where you develop the story or you raise the finance, which was and still different from my main job when I'm working as a executive producer, where basically I'm
in partnership with a
exactly when you have a studio contacting you, it's not that you have to raise the finance. Usually the project is already developed, even though you have an influence on the artistic, because when I had the chance to work with Woody Allen and when we made Midnight in Paris, the film would be different if it was not me, better or worse, I cannot say. And then when he came back the second time and asking me, and I've guided him to work in the south of France, of course you have your influence, what I love about movies is the fact that it's a collective work and everyone brings something to the table. And so Les Dégâts was my first film where basically I was with another producer called Riyad Montel, developing that project and trying to, and then raising the finance. And it's the story that, and a project that came through my dear friend Claude Zidi, which since I've produced almost all his films, and another one that is really close to our heart, which is Tenor. But we were developing Tenor and other things with Claude, and then he said, I've been contacted by those guys, and they've produced this web series called Les Dégâts, and would you be interested to help them? And where I learned a lot is, and what I liked is, it's not my sense of humor for the people who are going to watch it. It's not something that I'm sensitive to, like, naturally. But still, when I've met them, I really wanted to help them and see how I was able to do so. And they've created that web series where it was a huge success on the net. And with what they had, and coming from the north of Marseille, which, as you may know, is not like a wealthy area, and it was completely different. They are Muslim, coming from a culture that is completely different from mine, because I've been raised in not a modest family in the south of France, but I had what I needed. I was blessed for that. And then for me, it was like the difference between our cultures that we were bringing together and trying to make something together. And it was, in that sense, I was really, I was touched. And I wanted to do though. I don't know why. When I've met those two guys and their producer, I felt that, maybe there's something there. And I felt that the audience, or there was an audience that was waiting for that genre or that kind of film, even though this is not something for me, and I really wanted to do so, and I was happy that we managed to do it, thanks to the help of other people like Matthew and other people that are working with me all the time. And then and I'm happy about that, because after that film, that was a kind of a success.
So let's move to another culture. You have been involved in two major productions involving the British monarchy, the Queen and the Crown. Mm-hmm. So you've been connected to London.
Unfortunately, I've killed Diana twice now, so I'm not so proud of that. I'm sorry.
And quite successfully, actually. Seeing the success of this film and of the series. Yeah. What would you say about the difference between London and Paris first, and the French English culture?
I don't know. It's like, professionally, I've always worked with British or Americans more than French, actually. So it would be easier for me to, I feel, I think I'm more part of their culture than I am part of my own culture, like professionally, I would say. The difference is, I would say, that the French producers are always trying to make savings, because unfortunately that's what the industry are forcing them to do, where I think that when we are making a British or an American movie, we tend to try to spend the money on the screen as much as we can, and if a budget is greenlit, we have to spend it. And the approach is different. Really different. Like, the budget is one thing, but it's like when I felt like from all the production managers that I've met in France, or line producers, or they always tend to, because sometimes maybe the movie is not financed well, like trying to save everywhere. Well, it's just a way of working that is different, and I cannot say if it's within the culture or something, but it is that. Then from a general point of view, the difference is I love the British sense of humor, and there's something as well that many directors will feel if they're coming to shoot in France, is the dedication from the crew to the movie. It's not a job here in France. It's really a passion and an art form. I think as a director, you would feel that, where if you're shooting in the US, it will be more like a day job. And it doesn't mean that they don't like it. It's just like the involvement that the French technician would have. And I felt that, and many directors that I've worked with feel that as well. Like, it's not something that you can really describe, but at the end, you feel the difference. When I had the chance to work with Cédric Clapiche in New York, we also felt that, like, you know, and it's not that.
And there you had an American crew there.
Exactly, and that's why, like, basically between takes, the grip was, reading a book or something and doing something else. Where here in France, it would be more dedicated. And for me, it's every single day, even though I have different companies and I'm running like a business, I know that. It's just I still feel that it's a summer job, and I need to prove myself and others every time.
Interesting, but we will have other examples as much as we dig into your experience and your films. You mentioned quickly Midnight in Paris, but it came out in 2011, so starring Owen Wilson, Marion Cotillard,
Rachel McAdams, and
Léa Seydoux.
Yeah.
It was a massive hit. It won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay.
Yeah, there's a good anecdote about that. Yeah.
So how did you feel when Angelica Jolie announced that?
Well, I didn't win the Oscar. I'm super proud of being part of it, of course. And I think it's a great story, not only for us, but as well for many filmmakers. When we made that movie, I've asked the support of the Région Île-de-France on top of the money that we had and everything. You know, you can ask for help and
so
subsidies.
Région Île-de-France is the big Paris region.
Yeah. So, and then we've asked for the subsidy because it's a subsidy dedicated to the film industry, and we didn't get it. And one of the reasons, and that's why it's really a funny one, is because there's a jury, and then in that jury there was 2 screenwriters. They decided not to give this subsidy to us, which actually changed a few things, because at the time Woody really wanted to try to make the post in France as well, and I think he would have done some of it if we had that subsidy, but we didn't have it. So not only we lost part of the post-production that went back to New York, that's purely a business side of it. And anyway, and then of course he was a bit upset, because when you're telling Woody Allen, oh, you're not going to get it, and I was expecting, his love for France is so important that he would say, oh, I hope that the country will do whatever they can to show the love back. And then we didn't get it, and the reason was because the script was no good. This is what they told us. Like the jury told us that there was not a good script, and then we were not able to have it. That was one of the reasons. Then the year after, we won the Oscar for the best screenplay. It's a funny one, don't you think? That's a perfect example. When you have a no, it doesn't mean that what you've done is bad. Sometimes, yes, but and then you have to realize that. But many times it's just because you didn't find a good way, and it's going to be a better one.
So let's speak more on that movie, the portraits that is shown in the film of Paris. Actually, what makes through that movie that Paris is so romantic?
Well, you would have to ask Woody for that. I think he had that movie in his heart, and he wanted to make it like for many years. Actually, I knew about that project since 2006. What makes it romantic? You would have to. I love that movie. It's the relationship that you have with the past, and it was always better in the past and everything, and I think it started the movie with a sequence that is a bit similar to Ten, I think, where with like vignettes of different places in Paris, and Woody loved Paris and still loves Paris, and he wanted to show it. And even under the rain, he loves it's not like there's so many images that you can have from that city. It's just that romantic. You feel it when you walk the city in the streets, and it's just it's in the air. Yeah.
So back to the filming and the production of the movie. You had a crews you had an American crew and a French crew, right? Working together.
Well, one of the challenges. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. And I remember I've made a budget, and I knew, thanks to the other films that he was making in London, the budget that he has. I had the chance to make 3 movies with Woody Allen in total, but Woody always had the same budget. And I knew what was the budget, thanks to other producers that I knew. So when I made the budget, when I received the script, I say, okay, how can I make it work with that budget? Because I know that was the money that he had. So I made the budget, And then I had a call from Woody Allen. It was really funny because I remember I was in Paris, and it's actually my girlfriend who had that call and saying, apparently Woody Allen wants to talk to you. And I thought it was really a joke because I've sent my budget and I was not expecting Woody Allen calling me.
Directly.
And then he called me and he was saying, I don't believe your budget. I think you're just making this budget because you know that's the money that I have and you want me to come and then it's going to be more expensive. And I said, no, I really trust my budget and I know I can make that movie for that amount of money, but you have to make it under those rules. It's a game that we are playing. So if you follow the rules, we can make it. So they've asked me to come to New York, and then I went there and I've met him. It was really a great meeting, and I've explained him the process and all my thoughts and the game plan. So if we're doing this, and so to answer your question, basically was to have not an American crew, basically an entire French crew, limited to, of course, maybe a few HODs or key people that he wanted to have, that he trusted. But we had an entire French crew. And I've said, please, when we are dealing with the HODs, which is basically the head of departments, the different departments, and I'm happy to explain all the departments that we can have on the film. But I said, I would give them the parameters and the rules, and please never interfere in the sense of if I'm saying no to someone for any reasons, or if I'm telling, don't say something opposite, because then after we would have the problem of how we can make it happen. And then he totally approved it and was on board 100%.
So let's move to the American side of your life and of your job in Hollywood. Vanity Fair called you the bridge, and that's how I introduced you. The bridge between Hollywood and France, the go-to person for DreamWorks and Netflix. What is the
small bridge?
Oh yeah, you're humble.
No.
So you said you were born in the southeast of France. Yeah. You spent also a lot of time in LA and in the US for your work, but you live in Paris. Where do you spend most of your time, actually?
Well, over these last 5 years in Paris, because thanks to Emily in Paris, I'm mostly in Paris. But I had the chance to be in Rome last year a bit, and then this season we'll see where we're going to go, apart from Paris. But yeah, my work brings me to Paris, and I'm not complaining that.
And would you say that you're Parisian? And would you?
No.
Are you feeling like
when
a
people
Parisian?
are asking me where I'm from, I always say I'm from Nice. So yeah, I'm not Parisian. I love Paris, and still now when I'm living and enjoying Paris, I love it. But I cannot. I'm not a Parisian. I'm not saying I'm a Parisian. I'm saying I'm from Nice. So yeah.
So what's the Niçois?
Yeah.
So when you're there in Los Angeles, as you're spending some times there, is there anything about Paris that misses?
Yeah,
you, except cheese.
No, yeah, no. I think the art world, the history, things that you cannot really name when you are in Paris, maybe because you're surrounded by it constantly. And then when you're walking in the streets, I'm riding my scooter, it's just like you have that, you feel it. And when suddenly when you don't have it anymore, because of course Los Angeles is completely different for that, then yeah, you can miss that.
And maybe compared to the people you know that are Parisian, real Parisian, born in Paris, how would you describe a Parisian?
I'm not going to do it because then I would just use maybe like stereotypes as well, and cliche that I don't want to use because on top of that, it's not true. Of course, some of them are like, it's like when we had the first season on Emily, people were saying, that's not true. And it's funny because when you're talking to foreigners or people that are not from Paris, they feel it's really true.
Exactly.
So it means that, of course, people do not want to identify themselves to those cliches, but some of those cliches are correct. And a lot of them just like to reduce that. Right? But yeah, the service is not like you don't have the same service in France or in Paris that you have, or the sense of a service that you have in France or in Paris that you have when you're in the US, for instance. I will remember once in 2008, I think I was in Los Angeles, and on a Sunday afternoon I wanted to buy a car, and because I was with mom of my kids, and we say, we need a car, and so she said, let's go. And I said, but it's a Sunday, and it's a Sunday at 3, And at 4 o'clock, I was driving the car. You cannot obviously do that in France. There's a good and bad things about it, of course. No, but I describe a Parisian without using cliches that would be mean and not nice for them. Like, no. And as I'm not a Parisian, I'm not going to do
okay,
that.
fair enough. Yeah. And people will discover by themselves.
No, but there are many good things here. So.
Yeah. So maybe one good thing, back to our conversation about LA and your personal attachment to LA. One thing you love in LA and one you love in Paris.
For me, Los Angeles is my daddy's life. Like, when I'm there, of course I have meetings, but when I'm there, like, really, I'm trying to be a dad. Which is a tough part of my life as every parent, I think. Yeah. I love the fact that when I'm there, and especially when I used to live in Santa Monica, I was living with the sun. Like, I like the fact that you're waking up early and you like it, and it's the rhythm that is different. And it's not like... a stressful one or like something that you would feel maybe in New York. So you're waking up early with the sun, so does the city, and I like it a lot. And I like as well the healthier maybe way of living and eating dinner earlier. I like that rhythm. When I'm there, I change that routine that I have here in France.
So what, getting up earlier maybe?
Yeah, but I don't know why. The sunset is really earlier than it is actually even in the south of France.
Let's speak a little bit about Emily in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
To start, what was the genesis of the project? How did it all begin?
It's I had a call from Darren Star, and then we've met in LA. I remember that moment, and it came with that idea, saying, okay, I want to make that series like about that American girl that comes and works in France, and all those those clashes or differences, and then I think the approach that the producer had at the time was to come and shoot in Paris for 10 days and do everything else on stage in New York. And I convinced them, thanks to the tax rebate and also the experience that I had so far, that I think it would be better and more beneficial to the series to do everything in France. So the first step after that I've met Darren would say, okay, let's try to make it in France entirely. A bit like we did Midnight in Paris or other projects that I worked on with an entire French crew. Because, of course, there's always the moment where how much does it cost? Like, one versus the other thing. And of course, the economics of it is always really important. And once again, they trusted me, and then we did the entire series in Paris or in France. And I think we proved that it was a correct decision. But the genesis was really a call from Darren and the meeting that we had a long time ago now. And still now, we're still remembering it, because actually when we released the last season, we've talked about it. So you remember when we had that moment, like we didn't imagine that it would be that success. And we're really proud of it. And we cherish that moment and all the experience that we have on the series so far. Yeah.
So that was my second question. Were you surprised about the huge success of the
Yeah,
series?
I was surprised, and Darren as well. With all the success that he had in the past, we're not going to name them, but Darren has been so talented and successful enough to have at least one series that marked every generation over these last 30 years, if not more. And yeah, it was. I think Emily is the most sudden and important success that he had. Like Sex and the City grew up over the years and became what it is. But yeah, really, and I think maybe we should thank the COVID and Netflix. I have no idea. I think part of it's one of the reasons, not the reason, but. Like we arrived at a time where people needed a window of something completely uplifting and a window on the world that they were fantasizing. And I think it was really important. And then Darren brought that to them.
And do you think that Midnight in Paris and Emily in Paris show the same Paris, the same aspect of Paris? or does it show Paris a different way?
Different way, but maybe what's common, it's fantasy, because actually it's a real fantasy in Milan and Paris, and of course it is the world that it is describing in Emily is not the real world. And then we know that, and it's fine, because it's basically a vision that we would like, about France and Paris and life in general. Where things are kind of easy, and it's not the world we're unfortunately living at the moment. So, yeah, in that sense, it's fantasy and glamorous fantasy for some part, but it's just like a bit of lightness, if I can say so. I like it in that sense.
Is there any locations in Paris that you that you had unexpected challenges, where you had significant logistical issues?
Oh yeah, no, of course. Actually, it's every day's challenge now in Paris. It's a big city, but as you experience it, you cannot drive in Paris anymore. It's really complicated. Good, bad, politics. I'm not going to get into that. But when you are a filming crew, and especially Emily, that is not like the smallest one. It comes with trailers, trucks, lots of logistics in place, and things that now are being reduced by the city, not in a bad way, I would say. And then so basically we have to face those challenges. Like when I did Mission Impossible, I had 100 trucks. Imagine that you need to park 100 trucks in Paris now. It would be impossible. That's what we had to go through. And now in Emily, we are restricted to 5 to 8 trucks. And I'm not going to get into the details. It would take so long, but I'm more than happy. And there's many, thanks to us and many other things, there are many shoots in Paris. So we are facing the fact of, we wanted to go there, but there's already someone else, or there's a different event, or there's no the space. And I understand as well for Parisians and shops and everything that they don't want to have trucks parking in front of their shops. Every single day we have to face restrictions of what we can do and achieve, and once again it's a teamwork, and it's a lot of logistics that we have to go through. But yeah,
I would love to hear you about some anecdotes during the filming. Do you have any spontaneously to tell us
on Emily?
Yeah, well, Emily or any other films that you have been
I've got
shooting
many anecdotes that we had, of course, one that is maybe the biggest one was on Mission Impossible, when a few weeks before, you were talking about the city, and once again, I don't want to have them against me, because it's not the reason. And I know that people that are in charge, we are really friends, and we are working together. But I remember at the time when, and once again, it was a bit more about politics and other things. But when we were shooting Mission Impossible, and that's really something, as I'm mentioning, the logistics and everything, we have to put everything in context. But 4 weeks before the start of the shoot, I had a call from the Préfet de Paris, and which is basically the head of the police and department, and said to me, "Oh, you're not going to be able to shoot." Things that we were basically working on for a month. And it's not that we just decided the day to the next that we're going to do Mission Impossible in Paris, because it comes with lots of logistics and a lot of preparation. Imagine all those stunts, and it's not like a walk and talk movie or something that you can do almost easily. And so when I had that call 4 weeks before the shoot, which was basically way too late to change our plans, once again, I didn't take no for an answer. I cannot say that I had an influence on the Oscars, neither the Région de France, but it's when you have that call, you say, wow.
Did he mention any reason?
Well, yeah, they came with the reason of there was the threat of the attacks. There was at the time, we have to put that in context, it was 2017. There was also the election, we knew that the president would change during the course of the shoot, because we were shooting in May.
April 17.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So
just before the election.
So all of that were the reasons, and then to make it short, I had to convince a lot of people, including the city and everyone. They basically, once the préfet had said no, everyone saying no, you're never going to be able to do that. You have to change your plans. And I was explaining them the impact that no would have had on the industry. Because honestly, if you say no at that point, so late in the process, because we've basically had meetings months in advance. We've started the prep more than 6 months in advance. It's not that we were just coming in. And then so I had to, and I didn't even mention it to my American friends because that would have been a disaster. So I was going to London where we were doing all the prep and the meetings with the studios, and they were of course shooting in London and prepping stages there and everything. So I was going there and I was lying actually because everyone was saying, "Oh, is it good?" Yeah, I said, "Oh, fine." I was like, "Oh, I don't know how we're going to do that." And finally, with the help of different people, and I would be able to name them, but that would be a long anecdote. But we were able to do. The outcome of it is that when we had 2 weeks prior to the shoot, finally being able to all be around the table, like I was with the location manager, with Olivier, and then we were again trying to explain why they cannot say no, and we had something that we never expected. Like the switch that happened on that meeting, where I was facing more than 20 people, like the
officials,
the officials, the gardens, the city, the police, everything, and trying to explain them that no, that we never really heard was a mistake or something. So we went through the schedule again, and I knew that we had to basically face a few no's on all the locations that we were planning to have. And then as we were going through the meetings, and so we were going that location, yes, no, and they were saying yes suddenly. Like suddenly everything that was red became green. And then we saw, okay, green light for that, green light for that. I said that, what happened over these last weeks when they've said that it was not possible? So I said,
who made the final decision?
It was just like, it was a political answer. Like the reason why we had the no, I will explain it to you, what my gut feeling about it, because I never had the answer. It was purely political because, as you may know in Paris, and then I'm going to go back to the anecdotes because the outcome of it is really funny. But like you have the préfet, which is the head of the police, and the mayor. And Paris is one of the only cities after the revolution when they have equal power, which is in other cities in France is different because you have got the mayor that basically slightly over the head of the police. And I, at the time, it was the elections, and one was rooting for a candidate and the other one for someone else. And the mayor of Paris, still the same now, it's going to change in March, said in the press, "Oh, I'm welcoming Mission Impossible." And I think it was just a way from the préfet to say, "Nope, you have to also have my approval, my approval and my word on that one." And instead of saying we are or something, and he said, so basically he said, "No, that's not the only reason, but I think behind the curtains and everything, that's what happened." He said, "You think you can welcome someone without asking me? And that's I'm going to show you and prove you wrong." At the time, then we changed because of course the challenge for Mission Impossible and for that movie was really it was really important for the country and not for me as an entrepreneur to have that film. It was for the industry. It was really important to have it, and also at the time we were rooting for the Olympics being in Paris. And I've said even to the committee, the Olympic committee came and I've said, I'll show you that instead of going to Los Angeles in 2024, go to Los Angeles 2028. Come to Paris first because I'm bringing Los Angeles and Hollywood to Paris. I remembered all of that, and it was important to show to the world at some point, with being humble, of course, that we were able to logistically have an event as big as Mission Impossible in our streets and in our city, which is really small in that sense. Like Paris is way smaller than London and other cities. And that's why you can walk everywhere, and it's great. So the outcome of it is that with all the no's that we had at the last minute, and then the fact that we were not accepting them, and with talks and support and fights that we had to do, we were able at the end to have even a location that we were not even expecting to have. And because when we went through that meeting and I had basically on every location that we wanted to have, yes, when I was expecting no's of some of them, I remember with Olivier, the location manager that I was with, at the end of the meeting, suddenly they've said yes to everything. I said, so why are we here? Because that's strange. So I said, maybe they're going to have to say no to something. And then, so I'm looking at Olivier and say, shall we draw the bomb down? Or throw the bomb? And so he said, we're going to ask for the Arc de Triomphe scene that we wanted to do, where Tom Cruise is driving while riding a motorbike opposite traffic and trying that scene that is in the film. I said, because they're going to say no to that, but that was never in our plan to have it. So suddenly I'm saying, because I have no nose, and I know that I need to have a no, because otherwise
this is a scene that you had
no,
invented.
it's just like
during the meeting?
There was a kind of a private joke that I had with Chris, the director. Each time we were going to London, he said, "Oh, can I have the Arc de Triomphe?" And we were saying no, because he knows, and it was just like a kind of a gimmick, or really a private joke. Say, "Oh, you're never gonna have it." So, and I say, "Okay, let's just have that no, so that everyone feels comfortable from the last weeks that they." So suddenly we are here with Olivier and say, "Okay, oh, and we have that scene. That is a great scene. It's gonna be in the trailers everywhere. We have Tom Cruise on a bike, riding the bike without a helmet, like wrong way, going through the cars and everything, and it's gonna be great." And suddenly there's someone from the city that was there. That was, "Oh, that's great." I say, and then we found ourselves saying, "Okay, how can we make it work?" And then, because it's logistically really something that is complicated to do, and I said, "Oh, give me 4 hours and I will do it." Because we were those kind of scenes, you have to shoot them early on the Sunday morning, because this is where the traffic is really like. So, and then we had no more Sundays in our schedule. And then suddenly I said, "Okay, if you give me 4 hours," we were supposed to have on that day the Avenue de l'Opéra. I said, "If you give me 4 hours before that, I will organize myself here. Then I will move to the Avenue de l'Opéra." And so basically, we were here along trying to organize something that was not planned. And they'd say no. They've said yes to it, which was a great outcome after all the days and weeks that we had, like all this kind of fight and thinking like, "Oh, we're going to lose everything," to suddenly we have something more. And then I'm going to London the next Wednesday, saying, "Oh, and then we have the Arc de Triomphe, by the way." And then they never knew what happened before that. And suddenly say, "Oh, yes, and how?" I said, "But you have to shoot it in 2 hours, like from 6 to 7, and this is what we've done." And then so basically we were able to block the traffic, having all our PAs, everything, to basically control the traffic and everything, and then move at 9 a.m. in the morning straight to Avenue de l'Opéra, where we did the other part of the scene. And I don't know if you remember the movie, but now that you're going to watch it, you're going to see and remember that. And then and Tom was happy as a kid could be when he was basically riding his bike, and did something that no one else will do. I hope so, actually, without authorization. And then that was great.
So last call.
Yeah.
Your favorite filming location in France? Tell us something else about Arc de Triomphe.
Like one of I just told you this one. No, one of the great things that we have with doing our job is that we can go to places that people have restricted access to, or sometimes cannot access. And I have to say that I had the chance in Paris or in the Région Île-de-France, when I had the chance to shoot at the Louvre, and you are able to walk the Louvre with no one, being able to see the Mona Lisa on your own. And for me, it's more like the Victoire de Samothrace, but like it's like, this is great. You know, like honestly, being at the Louvre alone is just
for this. Do you film early in the morning?
No, it's like the museum is shut one day a week. So we are usually, So basically, and then when I had the chance to shoot there, I had the chance to experience that, and it is great. And it's the same when I've shot at Versailles, for instance. Like being in the Galerie des Glaces at 6 p.m. when there's a sunset, and the museum, the Versailles is a museum, is empty, and you're on your own. And I actually when I was doing Milan in Paris, I was there with my son, who was he was 1 at the time, and I had him and with me, and we were just together. They were shooting outside, and I had the chance to sneak in, and those moments are unique. And so, of course, I'm thinking about those locations, but there are many other places. One of the good things that you have, and actually being as well in the south of France, or many other places in France and even in the world, there's one thing that is great about this, is sometimes we are forced to wake up super early to catch the sun rising, and then you can complain sometimes, I don't want to wake up that early or something. And she's like, but when you're here and witnessing that, things that actually a sunrise or a sunset, everyone can do that. It's not like it's restricted to certain people that are privileged or something. And I remember those moments. So it's not a specific locations. These are moments. And then, it's great.
You're speaking about moments when you were describing LA and now near Paris.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. And what would you say about the attractiveness of France, not only Paris, but France, on filming for Hollywood? Economic-wise, you're involved.
Well, economic-wise, of course, like if you want to be on the map, you need to have a tax rebate, and that's everywhere in the world. And then the difference, we briefly talked about it. I think it's the dedication of the crew. We have the chance, and I'm not going to brag. Oh yeah, we invented cinema. Which actually it's true. So, but we have hundreds of very, very good technicians. That's true. We have industries that are here to support us. We have everything we need, and great, like those human beings, and are great. And this is what I love. And as well, location-wise, like you can find in France so many different locations, landscapes. Like you may not have what you have, the scale that you have in the US. This, it's not that you have those gigantic parks. Like we've got nature and forests that are beautiful, but it's like, like when the scale is different in the US, of course, and the country, of course, is different. It's like, but the variety of different locations, of landscapes, of cities to nature, like that's kind of unique on such, I would say, a small territory like France, to have so different things. And yes, I would go back to humans and say the crews are excellent. Yeah.
The French director you admire the most?
I don't know, but I would say admire in the fact that I've worked with him and I loved working with him was Cédric Clapiche, and I had the chance to make a film in New York. So of course, when you're asking me, that's the first name that comes to my mind, because I've had the chance to work with him and to have a lovely experience that we shared in a world or city that was not ours. So it was a great experience. So I would say Cédric, and I love his last film. So I would say Cédric.
A place in France that tourists don't know, but locals do.
I don't. It's not that they don't know. It's just that sometimes they will not take the time, or they will not think about it first. When you have, and that's once again a super cliche, but when you ask Parisians and they're coming to Paris, one of the first things that they would like to do is to go to Disneyland. And I'm not complaining about that. It's a great spot, and I actually love to go there, and I've been there with my kids. So, and even without my kids, Andy, one of the director of Emily, loves Disney's, and so we're always going there and have fun. But no, it's just like, once again, it would be moments, things that you may not think about. Like, there's a walk where I come from, like in Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat, that you do is possibly one of the most beautiful walk. And then
around the bay.
Exactly. And then you have the same in Antibes, and I'm sure it's the same in Brittany, and like places that needs you more than just, it's not a museum and of course when you're in Paris, there's so many things to see, so many things to experience. But I would say, if you're in the south, then really talking like going to the Col de Vence and watching the sunset or the sunrise is something different. It's so that would be one of the last thing. Actually, I didn't do it, but one of my dear friend Dimitri did that because we were together for the New Year's Eve, and I wanted to wake up super early. I didn't do it for other reasons, and he did it, and he sent me a picture of the first sunrise of the year at Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat, where it's beautiful. And this is the thing that you can experience as being a local, and you can also experience that as a tourist, but you may not think about it. That's why. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Raphaël. Very interesting. And thank you for your perspective about France.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope that everyone will enjoy it, and they will give maybe the idea to come and visit our country slightly more.
And watch your films.
Yes, that's important.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous.